Hello English learners. Welcome back to English Speaking Podcast. My name is David, and I'm here with Nancy. Today, we are going to be talking about a very special topic. So, keep those comments coming because we want to create lessons that you need and want.
Exactly. So, what are we talking about today?
Today's lesson is about applying for a visa, a very important topic.
Yes, and specifically, it's about a visa interview.
Exactly. As you all probably know, when you apply for a visa, especially for the US, you have an interview.
Yes, where you have to answer some questions.
Yes, and that's what we are going to be talking about today. So, before we jump into the dialogue, let's take a look at our vocabulary preview. So a visa is an official document that you get in your passport that allows you to travel legally to a country.
Exactly. So, with this document, you can go into a country.
Okay, so we have different types of visas. Today, we are going to be talking about a B2 visa.
Right? A B2 visa is a tourist visa. This is only for the United States.
Other countries may have different classifications for their visas, but B2 is for the United States.
Right. So David, we use a tourist visa when we want to be a tourist and just travel in the US.
What about a resident visa?
Well, you can have a temporary resident visa, like, for example, an F1.
Yes, an F1 is for foreign exchange students who go and live in the States maybe for a year or do an MBA for 2 years or 3 years.
So, that's an F1 visa. You can also get a J1 visa, which is a temporary exchange visitor.
Okay, so it could be to maybe do some temporary work for 2 or 3 months and then go back to your country.
So, basically, a resident visa allows you to live in that country.
Yeah, you can live in that country legally for a determined time.
Okay, so let's listen to our dialogue. Where are we going to be exactly in this dialogue?
We are going to hear two people, a visa officer and a person who's applying for the visa.
Now, the person who's applying for the visa has an accent, right?
Yes, but this is really good practice for helping you to understand people with different accents.
Exactly. So, let's listen to the dialogue and then we'll come back and explain all the great vocabulary.
So, you're applying for a B2 visa. Where's your final destination? And what's the purpose of your trip to the United States?
I'm going to visit my brother. He's just had a baby. He lives in Minneapolis.
And how long do you plan to remain in the United States?
I'll be here for approximately 3 weeks. So, here's my return ticket for the 20th of March.
And who's sponsoring your trip?
My brother. Here, this is an invitation letter from him. I will stay with him and his family in their home.
All right. Tell me about the ties you have to your home country.
Well, I own a house. Actually, I'm leaving my dog there with my neighbors. I have a car at home, and I know my job. I'm employed by Turnell as an engineer. Actually, I only have 3 weeks vacation, so I have to go back to work at the end of March.
And what evidence do you have that you are financially independent?
Well, I do have assets in my country. Like I said, I own a house, and see, here's a bank statement showing my investments and my bank balance.
I'm sorry, sir, we cannot grant you a B2 visa at this time. Instead, you are granted a resident visa. Congratulations. You are the millionth person to apply for a visa. You win. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, what a lucky guy. He applied for a tourist visa and now he's getting a resident visa.
Yeah, that's great. But, does this really happen, David?
No, that would never happen at a consulate.
Okay, well, we can dream that this might happen for us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's take a look at the words in language takeaway today. All right, on language takeaway, we have sponsoring. So, Nancy, what does it mean to sponsor somebody?
When you sponsor somebody for a visa, you take care of them and make sure they have enough money.
Okay, so you are the one who's responsible for all of their expenses and making sure they just have enough money.
Okay, so for example, when I was 16, I made a trip to another country, and my parents were my sponsors.
So, they took responsibility for your money, exactly.
Let's look at our next word, invitation letter.
Now, this is a really important part for a visa application.
Yes, very important. What is an invitation letter?
Well, an invitation letter is a formal letter that a friend or a relative or maybe a business writes to ask you to come to their country.
Exactly. So you are being invited for a specific purpose to the United States.
Yeah, and you have to give this letter to the visa officer.
Okay, invitation letter. Our next word, ties.
Looks exactly like tie, like the one you wear in your suit. Not quite the same though.
Alright, so what are ties?
The ties you have to your country are the things that keep you attached to your country.
Okay, that makes sure that you will return to your country.
Okay, so what are some examples of ties?
Like maybe a house or a wife or a child, or maybe some money in your bank account.
Okay, or a job even.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, a good way to think of this is imagine like a rope that's attached to you and tying you to your country, to your house, to your job, to your kids.
Okay, so you can't run away.
Exactly.
Okay, that was clear, but let's listen to some more examples of how we would use ties.
Examples. 1. I sold my house and closed my bank account. I don't have any more ties to my home country. 2. Alvin enjoyed being single. He wasn't ready for the ties of family life. 3. Diplomatic relations have improved, and the ties between the two countries are stronger.
All right, it's clear now. Let's look at our next word, financially independent.
So, that means that you don't need anyone, that you have enough money. You have enough money for yourself, right?
So, you don't have to ask your parents to pay for your ticket or pay for your food or whatever.
Okay, and our last word for today, assets.
So, your assets are kind of like your ties, right? There are things of value that you own, things that are expensive that you own in your home country.
So, it would be a house, a car, maybe stocks or investments.
Okay, so all of those things are your assets.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of great words.
Well, I hope this was a useful lesson for all of our listeners because I'm sure that at one point or another in the future, you are going to apply for a visa.
So, now you know all the language that you need to more or less answer all these questions that you're going to be asked.
Yes, and Nancy, I'm sure that people have already applied for visas for the US, right?
Probably. Yeah. And I want to hear from our users any stories that they have about applying for a visa.
Yeah, that would be great. I know that I have some stories to share on the comments board, and we want to hear your questions and comments and any suggestions.
So, visit our channel English Speaking Podcast, and David and I will be there to respond to you and answer your questions.
Well, everyone, thanks for listening, and until next time, goodbye.